Alright guys, so as promised, here it is. Here is my Gear Chronicle deck. You guys have been asking to see this one over on the stream. If you guys haven't caught me over on Twitch, check out the link down below. But yeah, let's get right into it. I gotta say, Gear Chronicle has been a lot of fun to play. The deck is very strong indeed. But yeah, let's get over the cards and let's we'll talk about what makes it so good here, right? So we're gonna start with the main man himself. So this is the main card for Gear Chronicle, CHRONOJET Dragon. This will be the main guy until we get Chrono Tiger, which we'll be releasing later. Yeah, everything's going to center around CHRONOJET. We're going to start getting more cards that are going to say, you know, if CHRONOJET's your Vanguard, etc., things like that. So, what makes him so good? All right, so we'll start with his GB2 skill. So when this unit attacks, he gets 5k power until the end of the battle. So you got to have 2 of your strides face up in the G zone to get this effect, which is not going to be too hard with this deck. So when he attacks, your opponent has to discard a grade 3 or greater from their hand to activate their PG, their Sentinels. If that effect sounds very familiar, it's because it's the same one that Maelstrom has as well. So yeah, this guy can he can get through big hands. It's not a problem since a lot of the other units in the deck, you can use them to draw the heal guards, and then it'll force your opponent to have to use the Sentinel to block them. In most cases, they probably ain't gonna have a 3. But since it is a stride meta, you know, a lot more 3s are in the hand now, kind of just hanging out, right? Because we will need them. But yeah, this effect is great come late game. It pretty much makes him unblockable half the time. If you get a good booster behind him in that, it can be very difficult to deal with. But his main skill here is when he is your heart. So when a G unit strides, you get to counterblast 1 and choose one of your opponent's rearguards and put it at the bottom of their deck. So you instantly get to take out one of their intercepts right away. You can take out their starter if they're not careful, things like that. It allows you a lot of control. Which is exactly what this deck's going to do. You're going to find a lot of the time when you do stride, you're going to be, you know, taking out both your opponent's rearguards, just doing a lot of damage to their face, and it can be a little hard to deal with sometimes, which is awesome, especially when you're the one playing them, right? Yeah, and then of course he gets 3k. Most of the hearts now they have an additional effect so that when the unit is placed, he gets a 3k, allowing them to hit like 21 if you're going first or whatever. Just because, you know, you're not going to be able to stride that. I generally I often forget about that one, right? It also allows them to go to 14 too, right? So if you're attacking that grade 2, it still lets you hit without having a booster. It's a nice little addition. It's nice. But the main effects are obviously going to be his heart skill when you stride, and then him punching through and borrowing Maelstrom's skill there. And they're only going to build on top once they get further on into Gear Chronicle support. We're going to be getting more and more for CHRONOJET as well, which is going to make them even better. We're going to be getting CHRONOJET next stage, which will allow you to attack and restand on CHRONOJET and that. Oh, it's spicy, boys. You wait. It's really good. Then we're running our last grade 3 of the deck, which is Rune Disposal Dragon. This is the triple rare Legion for Gear Chronicle right now. That's why we're running the Steam Knights. We'll show those off later on. So when this unit legions, you get to choose one of your opponent's rearguards, put it at the bottom of the deck. So he kind of does the same thing as CHRONOJET. You just don't have the stride. You just legion with him. It was really good. Then we need attacks, so you don't have to be in Legion for this effect. You can counterblast 1. He gets 3k, and you get to choose one of your opponent's grade 1 and send it to the bottom of their deck. So this card is really good if you're facing like golds or something like that, and you want to get rid of the blaster supports. You can get rid of other Gear Chronicle Steam Knights so that they can't manage their damage flips as well. It just helps with more board control, and it's a Legion just in case we hit late game and we want to start putting some triggers back, and then of course we can just re-ride into CHRONOJET. And then we'll have a little bit extra soul, because you will find this deck does have it's a little soul heavy. It can be if you're not careful and you end up spamming there. So that's kind of why we're running some of the other cards too. So we're running 4 copies of Thwop Worker. This is probably my favorite card. I like the art and stuff. When your Vanguard attacks, if it is a grade 3 or greater CHRONOJET, put this into your soul, draw a card, and that Vanguard gets 5k power. Yeah, it's pretty nice. This will allow your CHRONOJET to hit come late game and get past the heals, kind of forcing your opponent to use PGs, which again will play into his GB2 skill where they got to discard that grade 3. So he just helps make better numbers for your CHRONOJET. And then if you do damage check this unit, It does also activate kind of as a draw trigger as well, and you get to draw one card, which is really nice. So it kind of allows us to run the crits for extra pressure, while still maintaining a lot of draw. I have found though that this card can sometimes get in the way. The extra crit is nice for that pressure, but at the same time, it has stopped a lot of like mystery flares and stuff like that. The deck has a lot of strides that are on hit effect, and once your opponent gets to 3 to 4, and you trigger this critical trigger, if you actually needed the effect, like specifically I had one mystery flare hit that I really needed that second turn to try to go for, hit the critical, and that kind of got stopped. So I wasn't able to do what I needed, right? So I do want to try swapping these out for more copies of the Legion. I just need to get one more actually right now, and then I'll have my 4 copies. I can swap it out and test it right now. But for right now, just he's still really, really good, but be careful with that. You know, kind of keep track of how many crits you've been going through, because like I said, sometimes it can get in the way. Even though the pressure is good, though, it is really good. It's better to have it than not need it, you know. And then of course we're running 4 copies of Ulu. This is the new heal trigger for Gear Chronicles that came out with the release of the G set. You know, so all the clans got heal triggers now. So while this is in your hand, it is a 15k shield, so that will help block some of the rushier decks, you know, like Novas and things like that, that are going to try to beat you down, Spike Brothers, etc. Right now, Aqua Force 2 at the time making this just got their stride stuff as well, so those guys are going to be something else as well. But yeah, it's very good, very good. Everybody's running the heals because it helps deal with that early damage. As you know, sometimes you can't control what you're gonna get on the damage, but having the heals is exactly what you need, right? So next we're going to go over the 2s. We're running 3 copies of Gear Horse. So when this unit attack hits, you get to countercharge 1. This is our Bellicosity clone. We're running 3 to deal with the counterblasting. This deck, you're pretty much going to be counterblasting every turn, since you're going to be striding on top of Chronojet, ideally. So this will help keep that cost down, even though a lot of cards in the deck are going to be like Counterblast 1, Counterblast 2 at the most. You'll still find that, you know, between using Chronojet, then you use some like Glimmer Breath, and then you try to go into Chronos Command Dragon, say, suddenly you just used up 4 Counterblasts, and you're like, uh-oh, you know. So Gear Horse helps deal with some of that. Then we're running 3 copies of Glimmer Breath, like I just mentioned. This card's fantastic. I'm debating bumping it up to 4, but we only got 3 right now. So when this unit is placed, your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater Chronojet. So even if you stride and then play him, don't forget your strides get to keep the name, so it'll still have that Chronojet. You can Soul Blast 1, Counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, put it at the bottom of their deck, and the unit gets plus 2k, so he becomes an 11k attacker. Fantastic come late game. It's cheap, it's easy to maintain between like Thwop Worker and Gear Horse. So you pretty much always got it. If you do stride and you get Chronojet's skill to send 1 back, then you play Glimmer Breath. Suddenly your opponent doesn't got any intercepts, and you're doing like 3 damage to face. That's why I say this deck can rush a bit. It's really nice. A fantastic card. Like I said, probably gonna bump it up to 4, but right now 3's pretty good. Pretty good. Next, what do we got? What do we got here? Oh yes. All right, so we got Ishin. So this is our resist unit for the deck here. So on your GB1, you once per turn, when your opponent's rear guard is put back from the deck or to the bottom of the deck, you can counterblast 1, and your opponent can't use 0 cigars. So essentially, this card can't be blocked with the heal trigger. Is kind of what we got going on. A lot of the rear guards have this effect of what you're going to see here. And then of course it has resist, so you know it can't be sent back in your mirror matches, can't be retired, things like that. I originally was running only, I think, like 2, but we bumped it up because the card's just too good. I don't really use the effect too much for it to get the not able to use zeros effect. Mainly we're running for that resist, just for, you know, like I said, you know, the mirror matches can't be sent back and can't be retired, right? Which is really good, because then it prevents the Gear Chronicles from allowing to push you so easily, right? And of course we're running 2 copies of our Legion Mate Steam Knight Puzu. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, and your opponent can't use zeros to block this. So just like our last Steam Knight, again, this one gets the same effect, except for a counterblast is Soul Blast. As you see, between him and Glimmer Breath, you can start to go through your soul really quickly. Again, that's kind of why we got Thought Worker and the Legion to work with. And then, of course, to round it out, we're running 2 copies of Twin Mazer Dragon, which is the 12k attacker. Unfortunately, you do got to be at GB1 to get the effect. But again, that's not going to be that hard since this is a stride heavy deck. He's really in here just to help with some numbers come late game, because you'll find, you know, you're not going to be able to get too high, especially in mirrors where your grade 1s are just going to be, they're going to be gone. Next, we're running 4 copies of Steam Breath Dragon. This is our stride enabler. He also, when placed from your hand, you can discard a card to search up for CHRONOJET. All of the hearts that were released at the start of G and all the ones coming out, everyone's got one of these cards. You'll see Ultimail's got one, as well as the new Neonectar's got one as well. And then, of course, when this card is discarded from your hand, it gets +2 grade, so it counts as grade 3. You just stride right off it. So we're running 4 copies. Again, very stride heavy deck. We're gonna need our boy. Of course, so we're running 4 copies of Arlem, which is the new Gear Chronicle PG. I say new, but it's the only one we really got, right? It's the new damage flipper one. That's what I really want to mean. So if you have a copy in your drop zone and you use this card to guard, you get to countercharge 1, which again will help with the cost of the deck so that you can always get your Chronojet off. Next, we're running 2 copies of Maki. Originally, I wasn't running this at all, but actually, you kind of do need it. You kind of need it just a little bit. That's why we got 2 copies right now. That extra soul charge can make it. It can make or break sometimes, to be honest. So we're just running 2 copies just to help manage so that we can get some cards into the soul, so we don't got to keep like rewriting, wasting our 3s and etc. If you wanted to run another one, I mean, you could drop out a Steam Breath here to try to make room. I would suggest probably doing that. But yeah, 2 is good for me. I find it to be all right. And then, of course, we're running 3 copies of Meshi. This is your main countercharging unit. So when you're on GB1, when your opponent's rear guard is put to the bottom of the deck, you get the Soul Blast 1, countercharge 1. Yep, so your Chronojet's pretty much free when you start. As long as you got this behind the Vanguard, every time you stride, you're gonna counterblast 1 to send that rear guard back, one of their interceptors, and then you just Soul Blast 1 to flip that back up. Yeah, so that's another reason why we need the extra soul charge as well. You know, as you see between Glimmer Breath, between Puzu here, you know, you can end up going through a lot of your soul blasts here. And then we're running Draco Kid. Now I know a lot of people are still running the other Draco Kid, Gunner Gear Draco Kid. But I found that GB1 kind of locked it out a lot of the time. That's why we switched over. All right, so we're running Timepiece Draco Kid. Just because of the it's just a counterblast 1, put it into your soul, again helps soul charge, gets it filled up, you get to look for a 3, add it to your hand. It's more consistent than the time gear, by far. It doesn't have the protection that the other one has, which can be a bit of a problem, but ultimately I find I would rather run this one over the other one. The ability to just counterblast 1, put it into the soul, look for my Chronojet. If I missed, say I don't have the Steam Breath, I can't discard a card, or I just don't have a card to discard. That's where Homeboy can come into play, lets you get the extra unit, and lets you keep going, right? So with that, we are gonna move over to the G's. We're just running the we'll do the triggers. So we got the 4 crits, we got the 5 draw and the 4 heals, obviously because we got the Thought Workers in that. Pretty straightforward. And then let's go over the G's to round it out here, right? We'll save them to the end. So again, just like last time, run what you can. If you don't have some of these units, or you have others or more copies of than I do, that you're pulling through a bit better than mine, we'll go over that as we get to each one. So first one we're gonna go over is Fate Rider. This card is awesome. I wish I had more. I really do. This is a very important card for Gear Chronicles, I feel. Mainly because of his effect and his cost here, right? So once per turn, You can just activate the effect. So you're going to stride, you're going to use this effect. It has no cost, which is awesome. It's free. Put one of your rearguards on the bottom of your deck and call a card with +1 grade from your deck. So you put back a grade 1, you get to call back a grade 2, you put back a heal trigger, so 0, you get to call it a new booster, you put a 2, you can go a 3, you know, pretty straightforward. Mainly what I will do is I will end up playing something like Maki here to get the soul charge, stride, and use Fate Rider skill to send it back, and with that I can call out a Glimmer Breath since I just soul charged. You see? Yeah, that's pretty much what we're using Fate Rider for, at least how I use them. Once you do call that card though, for every face-up G unit, you can choose one of your units and they get +3k attack. Very nice for late game after you've burned through a lot of your strides. Generally, this is what we will say Fate Rider for, is pretty much that play right there that we just went over. Because with it, where it has no cost, you can save yourself. So let's say you stride into Fate Rider on top of Chronojet, you counterblast 1, right? That sends 1 interceptor back. You can then play your Maki to soul charge 1 if need be, or really any grade 1. Then you can use Fate Rider skill, send it back, follow Glimmer Breath. Okay. Suddenly they don't have any interceptors anymore, and they're open up to 3 hits to the face. You know what I see? All right, that's pretty much what I use it for. If I had more, you could also use him to for protection as well, and you can call out your Ishin for the resist as well. I've had to do that a couple of times, especially in like the mirror matches and that, or if you're facing, let's say somebody dusted off of their Purgatory deck, you know, and trying to go for Dragon Newt. But yeah, I would probably run this up maybe 2 to 3, depending on how much room you have in your deck. At least two for sure. I still have a box left. I'm trying to get one more. we're gonna spend some gems and do that. I'll make sure to stream it for you guys too, so check out the link down below after. Then we're running our 1 copy of Ragnarok. Again, if you have more Ragnarocks, highly recommend you run them. We just got the 1 right now. This is more just for flavor right now. So when this unit attacks, you can counterblast 1 Persona Blast, the G Persona Blast. All right, so in other words, you got to flip up a copy of himself in your G zone, and then your opponent is unable to guard with the grade 0 cards, so they can't use heal triggers to block him. And you have 2 or more face-up cards in your G zone, which you most likely will, since you just flipped up 1. And most of the time, Ragnarok's not going to be your first stride anyway. He gets an extra critical, and then you choose one of your opponent's rear guards and put it at the bottom of the deck. So if you were to stride on top of Chronojet, you send one of the rear guards back, you use Ragnarok's skill, he sends the other one back, so that you get 3 attacks to the face with an extra crit. You guys can kind of see how rushy these boys can be if they start to pop off. So they can do a lot of damage. I would say if you have it, I would be running 4 Ragnarok's, to be honest. It's good. It's so good. You know, if you have Steam Knight in the back, suddenly now you can Soul Blast, and you just use 1 counter blast to do the same thing, because you would get to unflip from a grade 1. Here we go, Mishi, right? So you got him behind your Vanguard. Suddenly all that was just 1 counter blast, 1 soul, you know. But yeah, 4 copies if you got them. Definitely run them. Next we're running 2 copies of Chronos Command Dragon. When this unit attack hits a Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, Counter Blast 2, put all of your opponent's rear guards on the bottom of their deck. I would probably not run more than 2 of this card, even if I had more. This is more of a late game kind of they don't have their interceptors down, or say your opponent's hand's really low. You're gonna push them from 4 to 5. You could use this to clear off their field, and suddenly now they gotta try to not only protect themselves while also dealing damage to you. So Chronos Command can kind of mess that up. So hence why you wouldn't run more than 2, because the chances of actually using it, because the attack does need to go through, right? And he's a bit expensive, you know, at 2, while most of the decks use a counterblast of 1. But yeah, definitely not more than 2. He's definitely a good stride to have in the deck. So I definitely wouldn't take him out if you don't have to. I would, if possible, at least cut him back to 1 if you need room, right? If need be. Next, we're gonna go over Lost Age Dragon. So when this unit attack hits, Vanguard, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, put it on the bottom of the deck. You guys will have seen that pretty much every clan is gonna have a unit that's very similar to this. Royal's got their Galblade guy, so when he attacks, you get to call a grade 2. Then we've got Kagero's got Mohammed. When he attacks, you know, you get to retire a unit, and they're all just the on-hit effect, right? You're gonna see everyone's gonna have one. Lost Age is very good as a first stride. It will help get rid of, say, your opponent's boosters that they may be trying to set up. He can also help deal with the Royals little doggo that boosts the grade 2 that they just got with their Ultimile setup too. I can't remember the name of the guy. But yeah, if I had to cut a card from the deck, I'd probably would cut Lost Age. Right now we're just rocking the 2 of them, you know, just to help make space. He's still very good, don't get me wrong. And if you know, you had to cut some things, maybe like 1 Lost Age, you know, 1 Chronos command, then you can run your like 2 Fate Riders and 4 Ragnarclocks. This seems like a pretty good lineup to me right there. That's probably what if I had everything, that's probably what I would run. But yeah, Lost Age, very good. It helps deal with you know, your opponent's boosters, things like that. That's primarily what you're going to use them for. You're not going to be sending back grade 2s or anything like that with them, right? That's where CHRONOJET comes in. And then of course, to round it out, we got the Meme Dream Mystery Flare Dragon. So yeah, when this unit attack hits the Vanguard, you counterblast 4 to reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck. If 3 or more different grades were revealed, you get an additional turn. If not, you get to countercharge the 4. So if you get it, it's awesome. If you whiff, it's whatever, because he gets to unflip it all. You know, it's not a paid for card. It's very interesting. Originally when this card came out, it didn't work. It didn't work. It just didn't. Okay. You didn't flip. You didn't flip the cards. I believe the original one was like 4 cards or so. I think they changed it to 3 in here. I'll have to double check, but yeah, I have got it off. We've done it live with you guys there. You've seen it, and it's awesome when it does work. But this is where I said that the critical triggers could kind of get in the way. So if you're going in and you actually need this the second turn, they can kind of block you on it. But yeah, don't expect it too often. I wouldn't bank on it unless, you know, it's kind of, you know, your final turn kind of deal. But yeah, if you can get this and then you end up going into you can just ride CHRONOJET and just let him use his skill. A lot of times you'll just win. If not, you'll at least stabilize enough to get a, you know, an extra turn or 2, possibly, depending on how the match has been going, right? But yeah, the Meme Dream is alive, boys. It's awesome to see. I would cut the card out though. If we had all the strides available, I would be running, you know, the 4 Ragnarclocks, you know, 2 Fate Riders, 1 Chronos Command, and then 1 Lost Age. I believe is Gear Chronicle's best G lineup right now. And at least until we get into the next set here. They've already said, what was it here? Set 4 or so is going to have next stage. So Gear Chronicle, if you guys are unsure, they're going to be getting a big buff. Big buff. Big buff. Next stage is an awesome G unit for them. He really got them going. And I believe they also get their Time Leap ability as well. So you'll be able to send cards to your deck to call more 2s. Essentially, everybody's going to be doing what Fate Rider already does now. Long story short, you're gonna be bouncing cards back, send them back, and then they come back at the end. But yeah, overall, I would say Gear Chronicle is a very good clan, very strong deck right now. Even with the new set rolling out, I don't think they're gonna be getting moved around, and then they're only gonna get better as time goes on. As well as we'll be getting a little different version of them once we do get Chrono Tiger. Instead of sending cards back to your opponent's deck, Chrono Tiger binds cards instead. You bind your own for bonuses and different effects. So yeah, I'm very excited for him more than I think I am CHRONOJET. But yeah, we're gonna wrap things up here for you guys. We don't want to make this too long of a video here for you. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like down below. You know, if you guys want to see some more, check out the links. I stream just about every other day or so. But yeah, I'm gonna let the showcase play out so you guys can see the deck in action and get a feel for how it plays out. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you all in the next one.